My name is Claire. I'm 34. And I haven't told anyone this, not my best friend, not my therapist, not even myself, really, not until now. It was a warm Sunday in May, and I was over at Anna's house, helping her mom plant new roses near the edge of the garden. Her mom, Mara, is this graceful, sharp, silver-haired woman who always smells like rosemary and knows what every plant needs before it wilts. She'd bent down to dig something near the edge of the stone path, and then she fell. Hard. I dropped the spade and ran to her. She'd caught her wrist on the edge of a rock and was clutching it tight, wincing. I crouched beside her, heart pounding. She tried to laugh it off like moms do, like pain is an inconvenience, not a concern. But she looked pale. "Let me help," I said. And when I lifted her into my arms, I know it sounds ridiculous, dramatic even, she looked up at me, right into my eyes, and something passed between us. Not flirtation, not romance. Something else. Something that cracked through me like a quiet scream. It was recognition. She saw me. And I hadn't felt seen in a long, long time. When I first met Ethan, my partner of 9 years, he used to kiss my shoulder while I brushed my teeth. He said he loved how I always hummed when I cooked. He'd take photos of me reading in the window and call them portraits. I used to feel like art in his eyes. Now I feel like furniture. Comfortable. Useful. Overlooked. We still touch, but it's mechanical, habitual. He'll place a hand on my lower back in public, and it should feel like intimacy, but it feels more like checking a box. His lips still find mine, but sometimes it's like he's already thinking about something else. I can't remember the last time we kissed without thinking about laundry. A few weeks ago, we were on the couch. I rested my head on his chest, like I've done 1,000 times before. But this time, it felt tight. Like his body stiffened beneath me. Like he was trying to be okay with it, instead of just being okay. And I'm not angry. Not even resentful. I'm just tired of pretending I don't notice. When I carried Mara inside, something about the way her fingers gripped my arm, light but deliberate, stirred something I hadn't felt in years. Not desire. Not confusion. Presence. She didn't shrink from me. She didn't perform. She just looked. And in that moment, I wasn't Ethan's partner, or someone's coworker, or someone's daughter. I was just Claire. I helped her to the couch. Anna came rushing in, fussing over her mom, and the moment passed like a gust of wind you're not sure actually happened. But later that night, while Ethan scrolled beside me in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that look. It wasn't about Mara. It was about me. Because I realized that the last time someone looked at me like that, really looked, I was a different person. Someone unguarded. Someone reachable. Someone who wasn't constantly editing herself for the comfort of someone else. That night, as Ethan fell asleep with his back to me, his breaths deep and even, I stared at the ceiling. And the moment replayed, over and over. Not the fall. Not the pain. Just the look. And that was when I knew. Something had shifted. Not in a dramatic, soap opera kind of way. Nothing broke. No doors slammed. We were still intact, still us, still functional. But I felt it, something in me no longer reaching. I don't know what that means yet. But I know it's real. And I know that silence, when you love someone, is its own kind of betrayal. I just don't know whose betrayal it is. His, or mine. Absolutely. Here's the continuation of Claire's story, now deepening the emotional tension and introducing a realistic, human misunderstanding rooted in their differing love languages and unspoken needs. Ethan is a paramedic. He works 24-hour shifts and has this deeply noble, exhausting need to be useful. To save people. To fix things. And he's good at it. Everyone says so. His co-workers love him. Strangers adore him. He's the kind of man who'll stop to help a dog cross the road or pull over for someone changing a tire. And that's what I used to love most about him, his bigness, his readiness, his hands that were always doing something for someone. Including me. But lately, I don't want his hands. I want his heart. That's the part he seems to have locked behind some door I lost the key to. A week after Mara's fall, Ethan came home from a brutal shift. 2 overdoses. A teenage girl with a crushed leg. A man who coded 3 times in the back of his rig and didn't make it. He walked in, dropped his bag, and didn't say a word. I stood at the stove, making him the lentil soup he likes when he's wrecked. I turned to ask him how he was, but he just walked up behind me, slid his arms around my waist, and pressed his face into the back of my neck. It should have felt comforting. I wanted it to. But I stiffened. Not because I didn't love him. But because it felt like we were skipping a step. Like he was using my body as a landing pad for his pain, but forgetting I was a person in here too. Still, I leaned into it. I let him hold me. I didn't say anything. Not that night. The next morning, I tried to bring it up gently over coffee. Sometimes I feel like you touch me to connect, but I need words first, I said. Ethan blinked at me. He looked genuinely confused. You don't like when I touch you? No, it's not that. I fumbled. Sometimes it feels like we're speaking different languages. He pulled back slightly. I'm not trying to hurt you, Claire. I'm trying to show you I love you. I know, I whispered. That's the hard part. Later that week, he tried again. In the middle of folding laundry, he came up behind me, slid his hands under my shirt, and kissed the back of my neck. But I flinched. Not because it was unwelcome. But because it felt like pressure. Like a test. He stepped back immediately. Hurt flickered across his face. Jesus, Claire. I'm trying. I know you are, I said. But it still doesn't feel right. He raised his hands. Then tell me what does. But how do you tell someone that you miss being looked at while you're speaking? That you miss laughter that isn't effortful? That sometimes you cry in the car just to make space for your own feelings? How do you explain that physical affection without emotional presence can feel like being touched by someone who doesn't really see you? That night, I watched him sleep again. His face soft in the glow of the hallway light. One arm slung over his eyes like a shield. And I remembered the first time we made love in his old studio apartment, when he whispered, I don't know how to do forever, but I want to try. It felt like a vow. Now I wonder if that was the most honest thing he's ever said. Because we're trying. We are. But I'm starting to see that love isn't always about effort, it's about direction. And I think we're walking toward each other with outstretched arms, but in the dark. And sometimes, we miss. It was a Saturday. Late morning. Sunlight poured in through the windows, making our kitchen look like something out of a magazine, clean, soft, staged. I was wiping down the counter, still in my sleep shirt, hair a mess, when Ethan came up behind me. I didn't hear him at first, just felt his hands slide up under the hem of my shirt, settling on the bare skin of my lower back. Morning, he said, his voice still scratchy from sleep. He kissed the spot just behind my ear, the way he used to when we were first dating, when kisses felt like conversation. I smiled, out of muscle memory. But it didn't reach my chest. His other hand landed on my hip. Then it dipped slightly, his fingers trailing lower. I froze. He didn't notice. Or maybe he thought it was teasing. You feel good, he murmured, pressing his body closer. I gave a little laugh. It wasn't real. He slid his hand over my butt and gave it a playful slap, like he always used to. That's when I flinched. Not visibly, maybe. But I felt it inside, my whole body recoiling. I stepped out of his hold. Can you grab the compost bin? I asked, too brightly, already wiping the counter again like it was urgent. There was a pause. Ethan didn't say anything for a second. Then, with a tight breath, he stepped back and opened the cabinet under the sink. Sure. Later, we were curled up on the couch. Or, I was trying to be. He'd put on a movie we both liked, his arms stretched across the back of the couch. I tucked myself under it, letting my head rest on his chest. It looked like comfort, probably. He kissed the top of my head. And I just felt nothing. Not disgust. Not anger. Just absence. Like I was playing the part of someone who knew how to feel close, but I'd lost the script. He shifted slightly, brushing his fingers along the top of my thigh, not urgent, just gentle. Affectionate. But I tensed again. Hey, he said softly, what's going on with you lately? What do you mean? You're distant. I'm not trying to push, Claire. I just miss you. I'm right here, I said. You know that's not what I mean. I stared at the paused movie screen, the frozen image of two characters kissing in the rain. I used to eat that shit up. Now it felt like someone else's fantasy. I wanted to want him. God, I did. But I couldn't stop noticing the way every hand on my skin now came with a question mark. Every kiss felt like a transaction. Every touch, a lead-in. I closed my eyes, heart hammering in confusion and guilt. Why does everything have to turn into sex? We were having dinner on the patio. Ethan had grilled salmon, poured the wine, lit the citronella candles. He even bought those crusty bakery rolls I always liked, the ones I said reminded me of my childhood. It should have felt romantic. It was supposed to. He smiled across the table, proud of himself. I thought we could use a little us time. No phones, no distractions. I nodded, chewing slowly, but my throat felt tight. I kept glancing at the little basil plant between us instead of looking him in the eye. I don't know why. I just couldn't meet his gaze. He reached for my hand across the table. His thumb ran gently over my knuckles. You've been somewhere else lately. I want you back. I swallowed. He smiled, soft but expectant. Remember that weekend in Maine? When we made breakfast naked and got sunburnt because we fell asleep on the dock? I laughed, too loudly. Yeah, I said. We were younger then. Things felt easier. He squeezed my hand. We can get that back. I want to. Starting tonight. He leaned over, kissed me, slow and tender, like he was trying to access something buried. But instead of relaxing into it, I pulled back. Abrupt. Too fast. The look on his face cracked me open. Confused. Hurt. Just trying. I can't do this, I said suddenly, pushing my chair back. My voice trembled. Claire, I don't want to be kissed like a prize you're trying to win back. What the hell does that mean? I stood now, arms crossed tight over my chest. It means I don't feel like a person to you anymore, I feel like a performance. Something to fix. You think candles and salmon and remembering Maine is going to, what? Unlock me? His face went still. I'm trying, Claire. I don't know what you want from me. I want to be seen. I shouted. And then my voice cracked into something smaller. I want you to hear me before you touch me. I want you to stop thinking every time I'm quiet, it means I need to be kissed. He sat there, stunned, the wine glass still in his hand. I kept going, because I'd already crossed the line. You didn't even ask me how I was after Mara fell. You didn't ask why I was so quiet when I came home. You just assumed I needed sex, or food, or a goddamn back rub. Do you even remember me crying in the bathroom that night? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I carried her inside, I whispered. She looked at me like I was a whole person. And it scared the hell out of me, because I didn't remember the last time someone did that. Ethan set the wine glass down carefully. Too carefully. I didn't know, he said. His voice was soft, almost hollow. I didn't realize how far away you were. Neither of us moved. Afterward, I sat alone in the bathroom, knees pulled up to my chest, my dinner plate still full outside on the table. And all I could feel was guilt. Hot and sick. He tried. He really did. And maybe I broke something just now that can't be unbroken. I thought standing up for myself would feel like power. But it feels more like grief. Like mourning the version of us I can't pretend to be anymore. The woman who smiled through every misplaced kiss. Who said, "I'm fine," when she wasn't. Who let herself be held even when she felt like a ghost. Now I'm just raw. And I hate that it had to come out like that. I hate that he looked at me like a stranger. I hate that I can't explain the quiet anymore. But most of all, I hate that the first time I truly said what I needed, it hurt him. It's been 3 weeks since the patio. Since I raised my voice. Since I said things I'd been bottling for years. Ethan hasn't touched me since. Not out of punishment, but restraint. He sleeps with his back to me now. Not cold, just distant. Like he's trying not to ask for anything. Like he's afraid he'll ask for too much. He still makes coffee in the mornings. Still puts the extra blanket on my side when it gets cold at night. But it's the kind of care that feels administrative. No eye contact. No lingering touches. Just quiet, tidy effort. And the silence is unbearable. One afternoon, I came home early from work and found him sitting on the edge of the bed, still in his scrubs. Just staring at the floor. Shoulders slumped. His hands were clasped together between his knees, knuckles pale. I stood in the doorway and watched him for maybe a full minute. He didn't hear me. Or maybe he did, and he just didn't know what to say. I walked into the kitchen instead, pretending I hadn't seen anything. Later that night, I tried to ask. "Rough day?" He nodded without looking up from his bowl. Call came in late. Baby in respiratory distress. She made it. I waited for more. There was always more. But he didn't give it. I wanted to touch his arm. I didn't. I wanted to apologize. I didn't know how. One night I caught him looking at an old photo on his phone, one from Maine. I was laughing at something off camera, wrapped in his hoodie, sunburn peeling on my nose. When he noticed me watching, he turned off the screen and set the phone face down. Not angrily. Just, quietly. The distance isn't what I wanted. I didn't want him to stop trying. I didn't want him to shut down. But I also don't know how to go back to pretending. And maybe that's the worst part, realizing how much of our peace was just pretend. But I miss him. I miss how he used to rest his head in my lap and close his eyes like he could finally breathe. I miss how he used to ask me what I dreamed about the night before, even when the answers were boring. I miss being wanted. Not just physically, but as a person. And I know he's hurting too. That's the part that haunts me most. He's not the villain. He's never been the villain. He's just a man who's trying in the only way he knows how. And maybe I've spent so long editing myself down, he forgot there was more to listen to. Maybe I forgot how to speak up before I broke. Tonight, I sat in the living room while he stood at the sink washing dishes. The hum of water and clinking plates felt louder than it should. I watched his shoulders move. The way his head tilted forward, tired. And I asked myself, do I still want this? Not just the history. Not just the comfort. But him. Do I want to reach for him again, not because I miss who we were, but because I believe there's something real still left to build? My chest felt heavy. My throat closed up. But somewhere under all the confusion and resentment and guilt, I felt it. Yes. Maybe we don't know how to find each other yet. But I still want to try. It was a Wednesday night. Rain tapped the windows with that soft, rhythmic insistence that makes you feel both comforted and alone. I found Ethan sitting on the floor in the hallway, legs stretched out, back against the wall. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there in the quiet, wearing one of his threadbare t-shirts, his face drawn and tired. He looked up when I passed by, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. No armor. No pretending. Just two people who hadn't figured out how to stop hurting each other. I sat down beside him. Slowly. Careful, like approaching a wild animal. Not because he was dangerous, but because I was. "I've been thinking," I said, voice soft. He looked ahead, not at me. "Me too. I never meant to make you feel like you weren't enough. I never meant to make you feel like you had to disappear to be loved." It hit me so hard I had to close my eyes. We sat there for a long time. Nothing grand. Nothing cinematic. Just knees touching. Breathing. Eventually, he spoke again. "I don't know how to do this anymore." "I know," I whispered. "Me neither. But I still want to." I turned my head, looked at him. His jaw was tight. His eyes glassy. "I don't know how to be what you need," he said. "You don't have to be," I told him. "But I need you to listen when I say what I need. And I need to stop waiting until I'm already breaking to say it." He nodded. It wasn't triumphant. It wasn't even relieved. But it was real. And then, without a word, he leaned his head onto my shoulder. Not because he was trying to start something. Not because he wanted to fix it all right there. Just because he needed to rest. I laid my head against his. No apology. No fireworks. Just pause. A quiet truce. That night, we didn't have sex. We didn't even cuddle. He slept on the couch, not out of anger, not to make a point, but because we both needed space. We both needed the quiet to settle between us without demand. But just before he lay down, he kissed my forehead. One slow press of his lips to my skin. It didn't promise anything. But it didn't feel like the end. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a stranger in my own home. Just a woman learning how to be seen again. And a man, flawed, tired, still trying, who might just be learning how to see, the woman's voice, soft but steady. A little raw, a little wiser. You know, I used to think intimacy was just about being close. Touching. Kissing. Sex. Proximity. But it's not. Real intimacy is being known. It's being able to say, "I'm not okay," without fearing you'll be left. It's being looked at without performing. And it's scary, God, it's terrifying, to let someone see the parts of you you've hidden even from yourself. For a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. That I was too sensitive, too needy, too quiet. That maybe I'd lost the ability to want. But what I really lost was the space to be honest. Ethan and I, we're still figuring it out. It's not perfect. It's not clean. We've had to unlearn years of swallowing our own needs just to keep the peace. We've had to learn to talk without fixing, to listen without defending, to touch without assumption. And sometimes it still hurts. But I'm learning that love isn't the absence of pain. It's what you do with it. I don't think desire ever truly disappears. It just hides beneath layers of silence, resentment, misfired gestures, and unspoken wounds. But if you're patient, if you're brave, you can find your way back. Or forward. Or wherever feels like truth. And if you can't, then maybe the most loving thing you can do, for them and for yourself, is to stop pretending. Because staying isn't always love. And leaving isn't always failure. Sometimes, love is just, finally telling the truth. Even if your voice shakes. Even if it breaks something. Even if it's too late. Because you deserve to be seen. Fully. Without shrinking. And if you're sitting there wondering whether you do, whether what you feel is real, I promise you, it is. I learned that the hard way. But I learned it. And that counts for something.